We begin to on Daf Mesechtes Rosh Hashanah, the final Daf, Daf Lamed Hey. We begin on Daf Lamed Dalma Beis, 2 lines up in the bottom of the Amud, where the Gemara continues the discussion from the previous stuff regarding a teaching of Rabbi Yochanan relating to the Machlekes in our Mishnah. If the Chacham subsequently agreed or disagreed regarding this halacha, the Gemara says that the Shlitz to become Mitzvah Shamim Dechavasan, Baki, or in the Baki, that the Gemara, the Rabbi Yochanan had said that they did agree, and the Gemara continues asking on that if he really did say that. Shit goes bounce by cousin, today's daf. Some of this is going to discuss in today's daf are a continuation of the discussion of the tefillas, Rosh Hashanah, in which cases can the shlich to be mighty others in the mitzvah of shayfer or tefillah. So the key terms of content discussed in today's daf are a person should always prepare his davening and then daven. Am shabasadis are the people out in the fields that they can't even come and hear the davening. So we said in the Mishnah this idea of the Tanakama that he says no, just like the shlich has to daven, so too every individual has to daven, and the shlich tzibah can only be mighty misha in the baki. And Ramila says no, shlich tzibah can be mighty everyone's tzibah, and the shlich tzibah can even mighty even in the baki. So if you got into discussion, so then why does shlich tzibah repeat the davening? They said kedei like misha in the baki, but they said to Ramila, according to you, why is the tzibur daven? Why did the individuals daven? No, it says that the shlich tzibah can prepare himself. Now the Gemara continues on the second line from the bottom that Rabbi Yochanan had said, like we said, that the Chacham subsequently agreed. And that's the Gemara. Did Rabbi Yochanan really say that Chacham ultimately turned to Gamliel's opinion and agreed that the shlich tzibur can be mighty even a baki? But for Amar Rabbi Yochanan, he called him Rabbi Yochanan Hilchas Gamliel. He said halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel. Now Hilchas Machlal the Pligi. If you're saying halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel, that means to say someone disagrees. If you're saying someone disagrees, that means the Chacham didn't agree. And they hold that it cannot be mighty abaki. Because if Rabbi Yochanan held that they agreed, you wouldn't say halacha machal de pligi. But you told me that they don't disagree, they agree. Oh, says the Gemara, this is continued about Lamhem and Aleph, Kisol Rabbi the Yamir, Rabbi came up where he went on a cruise and he came, he was on a boat and he came back. Everyone here goes on cruises. He came up from the sea and Pirsha, he explained, Moedim Chacham Remim Chachamim agreed to Rabbi Gamliel that the shots can be mighty when the bracha shel Rosh Hashanah b'Shem Kippurim by Rosh Hashanah Kippur davening, meaning that of Yovel, which we're going to explain shortly why would they be different. That's where they agreed. But the halacha when Rabbi Yochanan was halacha like Gamliel, which machlad the plig, which obviously saying that they still disagree. The bracha is the Chol Hashanah. That's why the Shemayin Esrei all year round. So depending which one, that's which one they would say that they're disagreeing or that they agree. Says, is even that so? But the Amr Chana Tzipurna Amr Rabbi Yochanan says, love like Gamliel, that which infers that they're disagreeing about the bracha shel Rosh Hashanah b'Shem Kippurim. So you see that even by those davening, which you want to say that's where they agree, we see even over there they disagree, and it's Rabbi Yochanan saying this. So Elam Rav Nachman Yitzchak, he says, okay, man maidim. It's going to get a little complicated. There's a third opinion here. Who is it that Rabbi Yochanan said that agreed to Rabbi Gamliel? At least by, like we said in the previous answer, of Rosh Hashanah and Kippurim davening, that's Rabbi Meir. V'halacha machal the pligi, when Rabbi Yochanan had a different teaching, that he said halacha is like Gamliel, which that was inferring that they still disagree, even on Rosh Hashanah and Kippurim, which sounds like the still machlekes. That's the Rabbanan. That's the other chacham besides Rabbi Meir. The time like when the Brisa, there's bracha shel Rosh Hashanah and Kippurim, we find in that case a machlekes. The first opinion says shlich tzibur mitzvah rami dechavasim, which is like a Gamliel. That's the Rabbi Meir. So you see, Rabbi Meir agrees with Gamliel. That's the chacham that are moedim. The chachamim, who are the other chachamim, they disagree, even by Rosh Hashanah and Kippurim davening. Kashem shlich tzibur chayv. No, just like the shlich tzibur is chayv, kav kol yachad b'yachad chayv, so to every single individual is also chayv. So again, that takes care of it. We have both, like the previous answer. Some hold yes, that they agree, and some hold not, but specifically in Rosh Hashanah and Kippurim. So the Gemara asks, why, according to Meir, would he agree that the shlich tzibur, no, all year round you can't be yaitz with the shots, you have to make your own tefillah, but somehow Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, then the shots is going to be mighty. Why those? Says if it's because you think that there's so many psukim when you're davening Musaf, Rosh Hashanah, and you have the Musaf, Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Chodesh, and Malchus, Zechrein, Shayfers, and such a long davening, such a difficult davening, that's why he can be mighty you. But Ramad of Chanan Modav, he says, Kivin Shama, once the one who's davening says, Uveseirascha cost of lemar, which Rashi says means to say, meaning, he said, Nasta v'nakla v'necha kamitzas ritzinecha. If someone only said these words, We should do and sacrifice in front of you like the commandments of your desire, like your ordinance in your Torah, which is already alluding to all those kabbanas. You don't have to say all the psukim of Musafim. A klein Yishmael Esrei. So why do you need the Shlich Tzibah that you agree that there he can make Tzram Yedei Chabasa? And the Rav says the Gemara, the reason why he agrees is because Mishum de Avshi Brachas, is because there's many brachas. Because as Rashi explains that there's 9 brachas that we daven, in contrast to the regular 7 that we have on, let's say, Shabbos or Yom Tov, and they're long and they're confusing because not everyone is proficient in them because we only say once a year. Not like his teachers who wanted to say it's Malchus Zechar and Shayfaris, because that would be not like any mandam we had on the Lamed Beis. But no, that's why, since it's a long, complicated brachas of davening, not because of the Musafim, but because of the brachas, therefore, that's why he agrees, specifically Rosh Hashanah Kippurim, that the shots can be mighty, like Rabbi Lil says, as chayvasa. Now, Gufa, parenthetical, the Gemara goes back to Rav Chanam Morav, Kim Shal Mesrescha because of Leimar. We said that if you say those words, Shuvin Yitzchak, you don't have to daven the whole daven, the whole musaf. Now, they thought to say from that, when we say that, it would be specifically regarding an individual. But the tzibur would have to say the whole long davening. For the matzah, but we learned, Amr Rabbi Shimon Levi says, no, echad yochad echad tzibur, whether it's individual or tzibur, kim hashem us because of Levi, once they say those words, and suddenly the minion, whatever disperses, shouldn't it's not to say anymore, that also be the evidence is going to be enough of an obligation. Now, related idea, similar to how Rabbi Gamliel had explained in our Mishnah, that the reason why we daven tefillah balachish, every one of us, is because we give that opportunity for the shlich tzibur to prepare his davening. So in general, a similar Agadic teaching, he says, a person should always prepare his davening, and only afterwards daven. Baba said, it's logical that this teaching of was Rosh Hashanah, and those that come in different intervals, like on Yom Tovim. But a regular Shmoyne Esrei from the year, you wouldn't have to go ahead and make a ganza hachuna. That says, is that really so? But Rabbi Yehuda Mesadet Sleiser Maslei, whenever he would daven, even the weekday Shmoyne Esrei, he would prepare himself and would go it over, and then he would daven. Says, no, Rabbi Yehuda is different. Kiven the mitlas and yomin have a matzli, since he would only daven every 30 days, because Rashi explains he was reviewing his learning the whole 30 days, so he's parted from davening. He only davened every 30 days. So it's like something that comes in intervals. But really, this of preparing your davening was only, you should look over the machzeh that the place can bring. Far Rosh Hashanah, far Yom Tov davening, kick up the davening. But a regular weekday davening, you have to be masadi your tefillah beforehand. Now, continuing also related to the teaching of Gamliel about Mishnah. So Amar Vacha Bar Avira, Amar B'Shimon Chasidim. Says, Pei Tahar Gamliel exempted, meaning the shlich tzibur could fulfill the obligation. Even the people in the fields who don't even come to shul, the shlich tzibur can be made to them their chiyuv. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. When you're saying afil am shabasodis, it sounds like but I don't have to tell you hani dekay mahacha. That those who are over here in the city and they don't come to minyan, that the shlich tzibur is for sure going to be made to them. But even the people out on the farms, even people out in the hicks, hadarabah, to the contrary, hani, the people in the fields on nisi, it's beyond their control. Hani loynis, the people in town, that's not beyond their control, and they could come to shul. So why should the shots be made to them their chiyuv? The Tanya Abba Berei did Abba Yom Bachiyah. He says, Am Sheichai Kanim. That's why you see Beberchis Kanim, people quickly scurry from the front and they go to stand there by the bima, because those who are behind the Kahanim, when they're making Berchis Kanim, Einam Chal Bracha. They're not part of the Bracha Berchis Kanim, because even though the people in the fields are included in the Bracha Berchis Kanim, but those that could walk in front of the Kahanim, and instead they stay behind, they're not included in the bracha. So you see that those who could come are not included, those who can't are. So why saying a filam shabbasadik? So Elul says the Gemara, no ki asher Rav and Amar Rabbi Yaakov Ba'idam Rabbi Shimon Chassidus says like Pater Mlil Ela Am Shabbasadik. You're right. Rabbi Gamliel said that the shlich tzibur is only going to fulfill the obligation of those who live out in the fields. Now what's the reason? Because they're beyond their control because of the work that they have to do out in the fields and they can't come to daven. But a guy who lives in the city, that he's not doing this, and he could come and prepare his davening and come and davening, and therefore this that he's not preparing it, this that he's not davening on his own, meaning the Amsha Basad, the way it sounds like from Rashi, is that they are coming, but they're busy with work, so they come to daven and they don't know how to daven, so the shlich tzibur can wait to their chiyuv. The people who live in the city, they have an opportunity to be mastered tefillah. And so when you're coming to shul, the shlich tzibur is not going to wait to your chiyuv, because you could go ahead and prepare before, and you could have looked over the marks, and you had time and you have an opportunity, and you didn't. Then the shlich tzibur cannot be wait to your chiyuv. We shall return to you the 4th parak in Masechtas Rosh Hashanah, which spoke about the laws of shofar. We're sleeping on Masechtas Rosh Hashanah. We have concluded Masechtas Rosh Hashanah. Hadnalach.